Hello once again and welcome to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock here, producer Sam in the studio today. Other people off doing other things like playing cricket and talking about cricket. Sammy, how are you?
I'm excited today, Adam.
I know why. I know why. The man sitting opposite you and near to me, the great Mike Hussey, our special guest today. Huss, how are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I'm a bit nervous actually.
Why?
I don't know. I've enjoyed the podcast. I do tune in every now and then, and it's quite funny actually.
Do you know who's a big fan of Willow Talk? Mike's son.
Yeah, my son. I told him. He asked me, "What are you doing today, Dad?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going on this podcast." He goes, "Well, what podcast are you going on?" I said, "Oh, it's called Willow Talk." He goes, "Oh, I love Willow Talk." And
Hey.
there's Brad Haddon and there's some other bloke on there as well. Who's that other bloke?
Andrew Peacock, as I named myself last week. That's him.
So I had a good laugh at that. But yeah, he loves it.
Have we got any of those trucker hats left?
Yeah, we'll get him something.
Yeah.
He'd love that. Yeah.
That's it. Is he a cricketer?
He's played a bit of cricket, but he's more concentrating on his AFL at the moment, recovering from an ACL injury. So he's hopefully on the way back and have a good season next year.
You've got to be bloody unlucky to do an ACL in cricket, so maybe it's the future. Instead of footy, come on.
No, he did it in the pre-season for footy,
Yeah.
and he's working his way back. He'd love to get out there and play cricket this summer, but he's a bit nervous about the knee.
Fair enough too. So today, Huss, we're going to get your take on the Border-Gavaskar Test series, the different coaching setups around the world, because it feels like, Sam, that our special guest today, well, we love a guy who collects some tracksuits, and this guy has, correct?
Oh, yeah. He's been all around the world, well-travelled man. You've been involved in some of the biggest World Cup campaigns as well, so keen to hear your thoughts on that.
No worries, look forward to it.
How many tracksuits? Did you keep them as well, or do you give them to people associated with the team?
I'm not sure I kept the English one. No, I've still got, I don't know, I've got a few, haven't I? I mean, it's been good fun. Been a good journey, been in some amazing environments, and a lot of good stories to tell, but probably some need to be kept behind closed doors as well.
No, there's a filtration process that happens with all our guests, Huss, so don't worry about that. Don't
Okay,
worry
good.
about that.
It's me. I'm the filtration.
I'm sure we'll get some good ones. We'll go down memory lane with you as well. We've got to. There has to be a story behind sharing a 100-run partnership with Glenn McGrath, so we'll get to that a bit later on and answer some questions from the Secret Cricket Club. Is that what worried you about the rundown, looking at it and seeing Secret Cricket Club?
I have not heard about the Secret Cricket Club, so
Okay.
that does make me a bit nervous.
Hussey Jr. would be all over it.
Right.
He's probably a member of the Secret Cricket Club.
Yeah, he's in there
Yeah.
for sure. Now, before we get into it, Huss is not only Mr. Cricket, but he's also Mr. SuperCoach
Yes.
BBL. SuperCoach BBL is free to play with weekly cash rewards and a $25,000 prize for the overall champion. There's going to be more than 50,000 Aussies playing this year. It's a great way to make the BBL even more exciting, and you can join in leagues with other fans, mates, family, work colleagues, even your club teammates. Huss, which teammates would be the best and worst at SuperCoach BBL, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah, good question. Well, I know Trent Copeland plays it pretty seriously as well.
Is he
Cameron
allowed to?
Ferguson.
He's literally playing it this year as the GM of the
Yeah, well,
Thunder,
that's
so-
true, yeah. I don't know, there might be a bit of a conflict of interest there, but he's pretty good, actually. Fergie has a good crack at it as well. So there's a bit of banter between the boys. Worst players. It's a good question. I reckon McGrath would be terrible. I tell you who loved it was Warney.
Yeah.
Warney, he was the ambassador before me, and he took it that seriously, and he'd study the players, and he'd get outside help in to help his team, and that very competitive guy. Isha Gua's good too.
Yep.
Very competitive. I don't think Junior would be too good.
No.
I think Mark Wall would just be a bit emotional, and he'd be firing players left, right, and centre.
He doesn't strike me as the guy to have the enough patience to see it through, because you've
Yeah.
got to make little tweaks. Am I right? to
Yeah,
your
you just
team
sort of
all the way through?
trade players in and out, depending on how they're going. You've got to study the fixture a bit as well, so there's a little bit of homework to do, because some teams have like 2 games in a round, so you can get like extra points for that and stuff like that. So there's a bit that goes into it, but it's a lot of fun. And you just start watching games a bit differently. So I'm a Thunder fan, and, I like the Scorchers as well. But if there's like a Renegades versus Hobart game where you're sort of not that interested, if you've got a few players involved, you're really interested in what's going on in those games. So it's good.
Sammy, you into it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I love SuperCoach. Great. NRL, BBL, a whole lot. I reckon Punter would have been a great.
He would have been good.
And he again does it in real life, doesn't he?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I like the AFL one too.
Yeah.
I play the SuperCoach AFL. I actually finished 13th one year in the whole comp.
Out of how many?
About 200,000.
What?
Yeah, and I was actually a bit dirty with myself because there's like a vice captain, and if he goes really well, you can try and loophole it to take the vice captaincy score as your captain, and you get double points for that.
Yeah.
and in the last round, I didn't take my vice-captain score, which was Max Gawn. And if I had have taken it, I would have finished 6th. And I would have got one of the cash prizes, and I ended up dropping out to 13th. So I was a bit disappointed about that, but had a lucky season, that one.
How long ago was this?
Probably about three years ago.
Well, good to see you let it go. So, yeah.
I still haven't got over it.
So you're not just an ambassador, you actually know what you're talking about. You're actually you're actually
Not sure about that.
Cashing a check. You're just rocking up.
I do enjoy the game. I mean, it drives my family nuts because I'm always on my phone. I'm studying players, and they're like, "Get off the phone. What are you doing, SuperCoach?" Oh, not again, So it's quite funny.
Could be doing worse things on your phone. Now, sign up at supercoach.com.au now to get playing today. Even though the BBL has started, Huss, it's in motion. There's plenty of time. You can be a latecomer and get involved.
You can, yeah. Get your team in as quick as you can, though. Just start having some fun with your mates. It's a great way to watch the game.
Fair enough too. And a quick programming update as well, Sammy. So next Monday we're dropping a best of. Now we're not mailing it in and just getting up chunks of what we've done so far this year. We will be actually like talking in the studio around little segments here and there, correct?
Well,
best of the guests.
There'll be elements of what you just said. No, definitely. We're going to talk about the whole year. 2024 year has been a big year in cricket. Big year for Willow Talk. We've had some great guests on, and there's been some great cricket around the world. So we'll talk about, might come a couple of lists in there. You will hear some of the best stories again from some of our favourite guests. And we'll also preview the Boxing Day Test match. So it's well worth a listen.
Nice little mix. Like I was thinking about it before coming in today about 2024. We'll talk about that New Zealand Test series. Feels like it was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
and that was in February.
March. Yeah,
March. So
yeah,
long
World
year
Cup's got to be the highlight, surely. Australia winning the World Cup in 2024.
That was last year, Huss.
That was October 2023.
2023. That was this year.
We lost the World Cup this year, mate. We didn't make the semis.
We did too.
I will say though,
it's still so fresh in my mind.
To be fair, Mitch Marsh and Travis Head
Yeah.
didn't get back sober until 2024 after that. So it's an
So
understandable.
that was late 2023. Oh gosh, it has gone quick.
Yeah.
Not a great year for World Cups.
No, okay.
Yeah, the women's got knocked out too, didn't we? It was a bad year for us.
Yeah. Not great, but anyway.
That's all right.
That's the way it goes. Now, we're recording this on Tuesday, day 4 of the third test. Rain is playing a part. We don't know the result. We can't look into our crystal ball. It's not that good and predict the future about how this test match is going to end up. So if there has been some miracle result, please don't DM us and go, why didn't you talk about India coming back and bowling Australia out for 56 to win the test? We don't know, okay? So, Sammy, we're just setting the parameters there.
Yeah, that's right.
But Huss, overall, thoughts on the series? When you don't know the result of the third test?
It's been great. I mean, I've loved it. I must admit, I was really surprised at how well India started the series. Winning in Perth. I thought a lot of their players would struggle to adapt to the fast, bouncy pitch in Perth. But wow, they were unbelievable. Jaiswal, I've watched him a lot at the IPL. He's an exciting talent. But I thought his biggest challenge was going to be here in Australia because he's very loose outside the off stump. And I thought he'd be catching practice for the slips. But, gee, the way he batted in Perth was unbelievable. Against a world-class attack as well. And then, of course, there's Bumrah. How good's that guy?
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. So I must admit I was surprised how well India started, and it probably shocked the Aussies a bit, but it was a great response in Adelaide from the Aussies. And so to get it back to 1-1 going into the Gabba, I mean, I thought this test match was just going to be an absolute arm wrestle. But Australia looked like they've probably been on top. Travis Head, wow, he must be just seeing it so clear at the moment. It's good to watch, great to watch. I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the test, but geez, even if it's a draw, 1-1 going into the last 2 test match, Melbourne and Sydney, I reckon that'll be pretty salivating.
Oh, it's going to be so good. Just on Bumrah, are you surprised at just how much he's dominating?
Not really. I've actually played a year with him in the IPL. I had 1 year at the Mumbai Indians, and he was this young kid coming through. And I remember facing him in the nets and literally could not get bat on it. I felt like I was using a toothpick.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, I can't see the ball. I can't even pick it up out of his hand. His action's so unique.
Yeah.
And you thought we've got something special here. But in India, initially, all this talk was about, he's only going to be able to play white ball cricket with that action, with that run-up. It's too much pressure on the body. He can't play test cricket. But I always thought, he's got the skills and the ability. And if he had the desire to play test cricket, he could. And, wow, isn't he doing it bloody well at the moment?
So did you actually see him bowl before much before that net session when you first saw him?
No.
I.e., the first time you saw him was when he was running towards you with a ball.
Yeah.
So did you think, this guy's off 6 steps. This can't have much on it, this ball.
I didn't think he was actually going to get to the crease. The way he was just sort of like staggering his run, I thought, what's going on? Who the heck is this guy? And then sure enough, whew, this ball whistled past my eyebrows at 145 k's an hour. I was like, oh, heck. Better have a closer look at this guy. But he burst onto the scene in the IPL, did really well. I remember having to have one stern word with him, though. In one of his early games, he got AB de Villiers out, obviously a great of the game. And he gave him this big send-off. And AB de Villiers wasn't too happy about it. He sort of stared him down. And I remember just pulling Bumrah aside and just saying, mate, you don't need to do that. You've got that much skill, that much talent. Getting the wicket is enough. That's the biggest sledge, I guess, you can give. You don't need to be giving send-offs. You know, if you want to have respect in the game and you want to have respect by your peers, then maybe just... And he was like... Because he's such a humble... down-to-earth guy. It was a bit out of character for Bumrah. You know, he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I love watching how he goes about it. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always so calm. He's consistent with his character. He doesn't get too emotional. And he's obviously a great talent.
He obviously hasn't passed on the message to Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah, true. Or Virat, maybe. Although
Yeah.
he seems like he's mellowed a bit too.
Virat?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's chilled out. Yeah, he's chilled out. I mean, it must happen, like, because these guys, I look at Mohammad Siraj, I feel a bit for him because he gives so much, because he's not meant to have a career like this, where he's come from. You know, like we spoke of the Joswal story, his backstory. Mohammad Siraj has got a similar story.
Yeah.
He's from absolutely nothing, played very little hardball cricket as a kid, and then all of a sudden he's now 30 years of age. He's like generational wealth for his family.
Yeah.
And he's just got there, obviously, by a huge amount of desire. So I actually think he's great for the series and great for cricket.
Oh, so do I. And don't get me wrong, like I love his competitive spirit, you know, and I love him getting into the contest, even that Harshit Rana, you know, looking for a confrontation. There's different characters in the game, and it's great that natural character sort of comes out. So, I mean, there is a line. You don't want to cross that line. I actually don't think he crossed the line in Adelaide with Travis Head either. I thought that was sort of blown out of proportion a bit as well. I loved seeing that good contest between bat and ball. Yeah, it's great.
I've seen a few replays of that incident, and the more I look at it, the more I think Travis Head got off lightly, because Siraj has gone, yes, I've got the wicket, obviously quite animated. That's when Head's given him a bit of advice, you know, well bowled. And that's when Siraj told him to get back to the pavilion. So in reality, it was him reacting to Heady. I don't think he should have got.
I think reprimand both.
Yeah, exactly.
Not give one a disproportionate to the other.
There wasn't much in it. I guess as a father of young kids, you know, that play cricket, you just don't like seeing guys swearing, you know, like on TV. It's pretty easy to figure out what they were saying and stuff like that, which I don't think Siraj necessarily swore at all. I mean, I saw maybe a few expletives coming out of Travis Head's mouth. Yeah, you don't like to see that as a dad, because you don't want because the kids watch everything. It's amazing what they pick up on, and you just don't want that coming through junior cricket, I guess.
Yeah. You touched on Virat Kohli earlier. Great at the game, prolific run scorer. But what are you seeing that's not there in his game that was there when he was in that purple patch for so many years?
Oh, I mean, it's still there. You saw it in Perth in that second innings. You know, he's still got that confidence and that swagger. The pitches haven't been easy to bat on, and so you're going to get out, especially if you're facing some of the world's best bowlers. You know, you've got Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, Boland. You know, they're unbelievable bowlers, and they have been for a long time on pitches that are offering a little bit. I still think it's there. I think, you know, this is his last tour to Australia, and so it's almost like he just wants to go out there and enjoy it, and it hasn't probably got that hard edge that we've seen, you know, in the past. But he wants to finish off on a high over here in Australia, no question. He generally loves batting in the Australian conditions. But yeah, no point writing him off. Like, I mean, you never ever write off great players. You know, it's the same. There's a talk on Steve Smith. You know, he's not the same anymore. You write them off at your peril. That's one thing I have learned, is that, you know, you hear all this negative sort of talk about great players, that they'll always make you have egg on your face.
We're not wishing away the next couple of weeks, because, as you say, it's set up beautifully for Melbourne and Sydney if the weather plays its part. But beyond that, you look at the regeneration of both sides, which is inevitable. It's going to have to happen in the next 2 years, or 12 to 24 months. India with Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they look like they've set themselves up careers that basically they can determine when they walk away from Test cricket. I can't imagine a selector's going to sit there and say, drop them. And the same goes for our three quicks, Steve Smith, Nathan Lyon as well. How do you see that process playing out with the really senior guys and then that next wave coming through? India look like they're well equipped for it, but Australia?
I mean, India, they don't have to worry too much. There's a billion people to choose from over there. There's so much talent coming through. It's unbelievable. So I think, yes, they will honour their legends and their champion players like Kohli and Rohit, Bumrah in time. They'll let them go out on their terms, no question. And I think we should do the same here in Australia. But I do know, even inside the Australian camp, they're already starting to think about it, okay, and thinking about, okay, how do we, regenerate this team? Because if they all go basically at a similar time, then, I mean, we're going to have to be a little bit patient and a little bit understanding because you can't replace Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Warner, Smith, all in the same, around the same.
It's happened a couple of times, hasn't it? I remember the early 80s when Lily Marsh Chappell went at once, and then when you were involved as well.
Warney, McGrath, Langer went, and then not so long after that, Gilly, Haydos, they all went at a similar sort of time, and it made it tough. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I know they're thinking about it, but it's going to be a fine balance on how you, I guess, make that transition and, making sure that you've got good quality sort of replacements coming through. So that's why I think the Sheffield Shield competitions are so important.
What do you think about Nathan McSweeney at the top?
Yeah, I mean, I like the look of him. I think he's a very well organised player, and I've been quite public about it. I feel as though I'm concerned we're setting him up for failure because he hasn't batted at the top of the order in his whole first-class career, apart from one match, which was the week before his first Test match. I mean, it's an opportunity that you're just not going to knock back, but we're asking him to do a job that he's never done before in his first Test series against an Indian attack which has Bumrah in it on pitches that are offering. I mean, opening the batting.
When you put it like that.
Opening the batting in Test cricket is arguably the hardest job in the game. And you think back to his first Test in Perth, he had to bat on, when was it? Sort of late on the first day when the pitch was doing everything. Obviously couldn't get through that. And then they were out in the field for over 100 overs and he had to come out and try and survive 20 minutes in fading light on a pitch that was still, had enough in it. It does not get any tougher than that. So I think, if we're patient with him and we invest in the long term with him, these experiences that he's having will hold him in great stead moving forward. I just hope that we don't crush him mentally. But certainly looking into the future, love it to sort of work him back into a position where he feels more comfortable.
What do you see around the place in terms of that? Okay, if that wave will go, and then the next mob coming through, do you see enough?
Yeah, there's enough talent there, but we've just got to keep it in perspective. Like, it's not going to be the same level as a Smith or a Warner or a Cummins or a Stark or a Hazelwood or even a Lyon for that matter. We've just got to try to temper our expectations a little bit. These guys are good first-class cricketers that are hoping for an opportunity at Test level, but it might not be as dominant as maybe what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
I don't like what he's saying here.
It's true. I remember when, and you do, Sammy, you were on the road with the team, weren't you? When there was that crossover, it was like 2010 to 2013. There was a lot of players used.
But I don't see that as, it's going to be a doom and gloom. It's a chance for new stars and new heroes to emerge. I mean, we saw that come through, when Steve Smith got his first opportunity, Phil Hughes came into the team. Who else was there that was just Pat Cummins was just starting out. You weren't sure if these guys were going to be good enough, but given the opportunity and the chance to grow, they'll become good Test players.
I remember an innings that Usman Khawaja, it might have been on debut, played at the SCG. Were you playing in this
test? I played
test?
that test, yeah.
And he made 37. And I remember thinking to myself, watching it, the way that the crowd's reacting and the commentators and everything, it was like he made 237. We were that hungry for someone to come through and grab their opportunity and do really well. And he showed a bit, but it was like, this feels a little out of proportion because it's a bit like when the cupboard's bare and there's only one thing in it and it tastes like the greatest meal of all time. It's like, let's just give the guy a bit of time and cut him a bit of slack because it's not
And that's
easy.
the thing, we've got to give them time. Whoever comes in, and there might be a group of guys, they've got to have time to sort of grow into the environment, into the role, into the level, and even grow together as a group because it's never easy when you sort of take 4 or 5 senior players out of a team and then you've almost got to start the whole culture process again.
Yeah, I was in the crowd that day Usman's debut, and I think his second
Pull shot.
second ball was the pull shot for 4, and everyone just went up like, this is the greatest pull shot we've ever seen.
We did too, in the dressing room. We were like, "Hey, how was he?"
It was awesome. You could feel the energy and the camaraderie from everyone in the stadium wanting to do this guy to do really well. You mentioned Hussey before, and watching the doco, the boy from Maxville, one thing you pick up is just how often he got dropped. Like he just didn't get a good run at it, did he? Like he'd have 2 bad games, and he even said on that, or his family spoke about how he didn't feel like he was safe in the team. So I really hope that this selection panel do give the likes of Mick Sweeney, if Constance gets a debut, to stick with him for a little while. Huss, you didn't make your debut, as it's been well reported, till you were 30.
Yeah.
You had a lot of those experiences in Shield cricket to that point, so you kind of knew what your game was like when you got into the Test arena. But these guys, it feels like they're going to be figuring out a lot of their game at the highest level.
Yeah, and that's a huge challenge. It really is. Like I would have loved an opportunity earlier, no question about that. But at least I had a chance of being consistent because, as you said, I knew my game inside and out by the time I got to 30. But you still got to prepare for all the external stuff, the bigger crowds, the commentators picking apart your technique, the higher quality of cricket. The sponsors want more of your time. Cricket Australia wants more of your time. And it's like, holy heck, I just want to focus on playing my cricket, but there's so much stuff going on the external side of things, which you're not prepared for. So imagine being a young player coming in. You don't even know your own game yet. And you've got to deal with all that sort of expectation. And that's why you quite often see some good young players come in, get an opportunity, do okay, but then get dropped out of the team, and then they sort of go back to Shield cricket, try and figure it out a bit more, and then hopefully come back. And we saw that with a lot of great players like Steve Smith. He came in and started and did okay, then sort of went back. Phil Hughes, in and out a lot.
I mean, Punter got dropped.
He got dropped 3 times in his career, Ricky. So
was Gilly the only one that didn't get dropped?
Yeah, Gilly didn't get dropped.
He was 96, 97.
But he came in late
through
as well.
He did.
He came a bit later.
When he debuted.
You're right. So it's going to be challenging, and that's where you're right. The selectors, coaches play a really important part here in making sure that they if they identify who they really like, give them a good opportunity at it. Yeah.
Sammy mentions there Phil Hughes. I've got a question here that I'm going to bring forward. It's from a Brad from Trucker Hatville. I did ask him, you got something for us on Huss like that I can just bring up, and it was the Test match in Durban. The Phil Hughes got hundreds in both innings.
Yeah.
Pitch was doing a bit.
Dale
Steyn was bowling a bit quick. The question, my question I had was, what game did Huss feel particularly uncomfortable in, where he had to see through things and he was particularly jumpy? You're known as a little bit jumpy out the middle, but he picked out that one. Is that fair to say? And what Phil Hughes did in that Test match should go down in greater esteem.
Extraordinary performance from Phil Hughes. They had South Africa had, I think they had about 6 guys trying to protect the cut shot. And he was just picking gaps and hitting over them, and he just kept finding the gaps and hitting boundaries, and he was driving them up the wall. But 200s on that pitch. I mean, we had Mitch Johnson bowling. There was like a ridge on the pitch.
Oh, cool.
And Mitch Johnson had already hit Graham Smith on the hand, broken his hand. He'd hit Jark Callis in the jaw, sent him off the hospital. And I was going through a bit of a rough patch. I wasn't batting very well at this sort of stage. I was fighting a few demons upstairs and watching Hughesy, blazing him everywhere. We're right on top of the game. And I'm out there in the middle and I'm struggling. And I just remember hearing Dale Steyn yell out to the captain. I don't think even Graham Smith was on the field at that stage. Maybe it was to Boucher or something. He said, "Give me the ball. I don't want to get him out. I just want to kill him." And I happened to be standing at the striker's end and Marcus North was at the other end. And Northie said, "Well, you can take that end." And it's the only time I've ever lost it on a cricket field. So Dale Steyn comes in and first ball, bouncer, straight past my eyebrows. Next one hits me on the shoulder, got one on the ribs, another one past the eyebrows. I think I got a top edge on one that flew over the slips for a couple, and I could actually just feel the blood just start coming up my legs. I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble here. Sure enough, another bouncer comes past my eyebrows, literally just nearly nicked my helmet. And he came down, he stared at me, I said, "F you, Dale Steyn." He said, "What'd you say?" I said, "F you, Dale Steyn." He goes, "You're shitting yourself, aren't you?" "Fucking oath, I'm shitting myself." Anyway, I had to laugh afterwards because the umpire came up to Dale Steyn and said, "Mate, stop sledging the batsman, you just get back and bowl." And Dale's saying, "I didn't say anything. He was the one saying it to me." Anyway, where Hads comes into it is I managed to survive that night. It was late in the day. I don't know how I survived. I was batting terribly. And I came in and I sat in the dressing room. I just had put my head down. I was just so embarrassed. One, because I'd lost the plot. Two, I was batting terribly. And I just thought, what am I doing? I'm batting like a fifth grader. I can't even hit the ball. And I just put my hands in my head. And anyway, Hads was next in, and Andrew McDonald was batting after him. They both came up to me and said, "Thank you, Huss. Thanks for getting through that. We did not want to come out and bat. And so, thanks for surviving." I was like, "Oh gosh." Now I understood, what they were sort of feeling. But Hughesy was just on a different plane at that stage. He was unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. What a yarn. Were you there, Sam?
No.
You
Before my time.
weren't travelling?
We won that test though. Peter Siddle bowled like a genius. We rock and rolled him in the second innings, and we had a good celebration.
I was at a 21st. I remember following the updates going, Johnson's got another one. Hilfenhaus has AB, trapped LBW. Then Smith got hit. And then, as you said, Callis got hit. That was fiery.
So that says a lot about producer Sam, about how much he loves cricket. He's at a good mate's 21st. Everyone's having a great time. The bar's open. There's girls everywhere. There's future wives being met and everything like that. And Sammy's on the live score watching what's happening over a world away.
A lot of Aussies did well that night, so don't worry about it.
Well done. Well done. Let's get the coach. I'm glad I asked Brad from Trucker Hatfield about that for a question.
Yeah,
I'm glad we brought
I'm getting the shakes thinking about it again,
And here's Dale Steyn now. Coaching. So you've coached all over the world. How does it differ from team to team, franchise to franchise, and does it suit your lifestyle that you kind of go around the place?
I love the
and help out?
coaching. I must admit, my main jobs are coaching with the Chennai Super Kings in the IPL. I'm the batting coach there. Absolutely love it. Great tournament, unbelievable talent, particularly coming through India. But what I love about it is you're dealing with players from all over the world. Indian players, obviously, West Indians, South Africans, Kiwis, Aussies, and you've got to try and figure out how to get the best out of each of them. Like, they all see the game differently. They've all got different cultures, different philosophies on the game. And I just love almost learning from them, how do you see the game? And so I'm fascinated by that side of things. I mean, I definitely don't always get it right. But
What do you tell MS Dhoni?
not
He
much.
doesn't know.
Not much. Well, I have actually got one story about MS Dhoni, which didn't go down well. So this was early in my coaching career. We're playing a qualifying final. So it's 1v2. Whoever wins goes straight through to the grand final. We're playing against Sunrisers Hyderabad. And the night before the game, the analyst sends me this split screen of Rashid Khan. When he's bowling, when he runs into bowl with his fingers on the ball are together, that's his wrong un. When he runs in with his fingers like apart, it's his leggy. And I'm like, whew, okay. What do I do with this? Do I send it out to the batting group, or it's the night before the game? Or do I just... And I sat with it in my hotel room. I was just staring at it for about an hour, thinking, what do I do? Do I send it out? Do I not send it out? Do I send it out? Not send it out? Anyway, I thought, bugger it. I'd never forgive myself if I just didn't give them the information. If they wanted to use it, they could use it. So I sort of sent the message out to the batters and just said, look, you might be interested in this, you might not. Use it as if you wish. If you don't worry about it. It's all good. Anyway, someone like Faf du Plessis, South African, very structured and wants to know everything. He wanted to know how many slower balls a bowler would bowl in the power play, and he just wants to know every detail. He loves it, so he was all over it. Didn't really hear back from MS about it. Anyway, we start playing the game, and we're in trouble. Faf's still out there, so we're okay, but we're about 5 down. MS comes into bat, only about 50 on the board, and we're chasing about 180. Rashid Khan comes on to bowl. MS goes for the big cover drive. It was the wrong un, bowled. He's out as well. So our gun finisher out. So we're in all kinds of trouble now. He walks straight off the field, straight towards me and says, I'll bat my own way, thanks. And sits down next to me, and I was like, oh, there's my coaching career gone. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have bloody sent the damn split screen, should I, So, to be fair to MS, we actually won the game. Faf stayed out there to the end and won us the game. But to be fair to MS, after the game, he did come up to me and said, look, the information was good, but I needed a bit of time to practice it. I just sort of saw him run in. I thought, oh, that's got to be that. And I didn't even watch the ball after that. So I needed a net session to be able to sort of focus on the hand, then see the ball and play. And it makes total sense. It's common sense, isn't it? So, we talked our way through it. Thankfully, we won the game. If we had lost, maybe I wouldn't be the Chennai Super Kings batting coach anymore.
Still there, mate. You're doing something right.
It's great fun. I mean, I just love the talent that you get to work with. It's incredible.
Yeah.
What's MS like on a group chat?
He's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And if you do get anything, it's normally taking the mickey out of someone. He's got a great sense of humour. Doesn't take too much seriously, but yeah, he's not great on the phone. He's sort of I think the when he was captain of India, N. Srinivasan was the BCCI chairman, like the biggest, most powerful administrator in the world. And he was so frustrated because he couldn't get in touch with the Indian captain, MS Dhoni. So he said to MS, he goes, "I'm giving you this phone. It's got one number in it. No one else in the whole world has this number. If this phone rings, it's me, okay? So you can answer it." MS goes, "Okay, sir, no problem." He opened up the drawer, popped it in the drawer and closed the drawer, and that was it. He never answered the phone.
So good. Got a bat phone, didn't use it. Yeah. South Africa 2015 World Cup. You've coached with England 2022 T20 World Cup. I can't believe that you still got hold of your passport on a regular basis from Australia. But anyway, that's by the by. You've mentioned Chennai. You've worked with Australia as a consultant, Welsh Fire in the 100.
Yeah.
Names everywhere we could bring up. You mentioned before AB de Villiers with Jasper Bumrah and the send-off. But a lot of people say that this guy naturally is just a complete freak and could have chosen conceivably about 10 different sports to excel at. Chose cricket. Is that what you saw as well?
Oh, without doubt. He was unbelievable. So, yeah, I was with the South African team. Well, I mean, I was on the end of AB de Villiers as an opponent for quite a few times, you know, with him smashing us around everywhere. But to go inside their dressing room, he was captain of the South African team in that 2015 World Cup. And with the South African team, there's always political things to deal with. So it's a challenging job, you know, and they were playing some great cricket. But just watching him train, so naturally talented, he'd hardly hit a ball in the nets. So he'd get a lot of work done early in the tournament, but then once he sort of was happy with his game, he literally hardly did anything. So I remember leading into like the finals time. So we're coming into the business end of the tournament, and you hear stories of like, you know, the way Marnus and Smithy just hit thousands and thousands of balls. Well, literally, AB de Villiers walked into the SCG nets. This is before he made his 150 against Sri Lanka. West Indies at the SCG. And he just picked up the stump. He got someone to throw like 5 little gentle throwdowns to him. He hit a couple in the middle, nicked a couple, and said, "Right, that'll do me. See you later, boys. I'm off." And the captain of the team just left and went back to the hotel. And I was like, "Is that it? Is that all he's doing?" I said, yeah, he'll be fine. And the next day he came out and played one of the greatest innings you'll ever likely to see.
You saw this one, Sammy?
No,
Were you there?
I wasn't there for this one, but that was the fastest 150 in World Cup.
Yeah, it'll
one
be
day
something
history,
like that.
something crazy like that.
And they just destroyed the West Indies.
They put 400 on the board, yeah.
And then came to Auckland for the semi-final against New Zealand, which is one of the greatest games of all time. And an agonising loss.
Sound like South Africa.
The rain hurt.
The rain did hurt,
Yeah.
but there's a few little things. Yeah, it was hard to watch, I must admit. They were absolutely devastated in the rooms afterwards. There was tears. They were just inconsolable.
It's not for the first time, unfortunately, for them. I do feel sorry for them. I genuinely feel sorry for them.
Yeah, particularly that group because they had so many champion players. Like you would have loved to have seen Dale Steyn in a final, de Villiers in a final, Faf,
Well, no disrespect to New Zealand whatsoever.
I was about to say, yeah.
Well, I felt from, I was in the inner sanctum, the feeling they had around that group and the quality that they had. Unfortunately, there was just a little bit of political trouble just before that game, and it really unsettled the team.
Yeah.
But I felt like that the confidence they had in each other and the trust and the quality they had, they were the team that could challenge Australia in the final at the MCG.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't think New Zealand, all due respect, like they were a fantastic team as well, but I felt like South Africa had a chance to at least challenge Australia in that final.
Yeah. We would never have got that great Stark to McCullum moment.
Yeah.
Hads clapping in the batter's face.
Hads for 10 years.
Yeah.
Has dined out on that story. So, and there's going to be another 10 years and 10 years after that. So
he's not well liked in New Zealand, Hads, is he? Really?
Can't understand why.
2022 T20 World Cup. Now you said you've already got rid of the tracksuit. Fair enough too. Maybe it's in there somewhere. But you go on Get Images and you see the photos, and there's you and Matty Mott with the trophy, with the champagne, with all the guys. That was a remarkable win by them. But Joss Butler, Matthew Mott sat in that chair and said that if he had to have someone but to win a T20 game from an impossible position, he would pick Joss Buttler.
Right.
What was it like working in that setup with Stokes, with Mott, with Butler, the whole crew?
Yeah. I still remember I was on holiday when Matthew Mott called me to say, look, would you be interested in being with the team in the World Cup with England? And I was like, oh, mate, I need a bit of time to think about this. And I remember just having a chat to my family about it and, what do you reckon? I'm not sure I can do this, And
Was that genuine, like the patriotic side of
yeah,
you?
I wasn't sure if I could actually help England, Like, I wasn't sure,
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I did. I really enjoyed it. And I think I remember the first training day, I was really nervous. I was at the team hotel and you get your little kit bag with all your England kit and stuff. And I remember pulling on the training shirt for the first time. And I think, this doesn't feel right, This feels bad, And I came down to training, but the boys were fantastic. And you sort of almost, once you get involved in a group, you get invested pretty quickly. You start working with guys in the nets and, working with Joss and the guys you mentioned. You sort of forget almost what shirt you got on. You're just working with the guys one-on-one and you get invested in them. They're obviously really, passionate and they're all wanting to do well. It's a World Cup. And you just sort of get to work, I'm trying to get to know the personalities and how can I get the best out of this guy. You don't say too much. They're great players. You don't need to confuse them too much, really. And so I really enjoyed it. They were a fantastic bunch of guys. Matthew Mott, very relaxed customer as well. I had never worked with him in a coaching perspective, but I'd been at the cricket academy with him, played against him a fair bit. He was very important for that team as well because the team was under the pump as well. Like there's been a bit of rain around. We lost a game against Ireland.
Yeah.
Every game was like a final, but he just kept it all very calm. And I think him and Joss actually worked quite well together. Joss was a bit more emotional and Motty would calm things down. And it was fascinating to be a part of. And they were a great team. And, to go through and win the final, which was pretty tense as it was. Gee, I tell you what, those boys can celebrate, though. I think there was a one-day series on against Australia afterwards. And I'm not sure many of them. You talk about Travis Head not being sober until the following 2024.
They were there, but not there. Is that what you're saying?
I reckon
spiritually,
most of the England team probably weren't there for that one-day series against Australia.
That's fair. That's fair. Celebrate success.
It's kind of a forgotten World Cup, particularly in Australia, because we didn't make the knockout stage.
Yeah.
It got delayed from 2020 due to COVID. England's big win had been the 2019 World Cup and that dramatic final against New Zealand.
Yes.
So you kind of sometimes forget about it.
It rained a lot, as Huss said.
It rained. Yeah, that's
Key
right.
games were washed out, and it's kind of was frustrating the life out of everyone. So
So we don't count that one.
no, it didn't count. Didn't happen. You got the tracksuit, maybe. But it
I
didn't
do,
happen.
but I've copped a lot of stick because they love the English way of celebrating on the ground. Was they love each individual player getting the trophy and then going down to the home fans and ooh, and then lift it. You see it in the football matches all the time. And so they said to me, they said to the coaching staff, "Come on, you got to come down." And David Saker was the bowling coach. He goes, "No way. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm going to cop too much stick." And I was like a bit hyped up. I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a go. Why not?" I don't know if I should have done that because I've copped a lot of stick for having the England T-shirt on, lifting up the trophy, the World Cup, to all the England fans. It's like, oh, but thankfully Motty did it as well. So maybe it was diluted a little bit.
Was there a winner's bonus?
I don't think so. I don't know. Don't think so, no.
Anybody questions, you just whip that and say, well, it was worth it. With Chennai, how long have you been batting coach there?
I think about 7 years now. I think I would have finished playing in 2015 maybe for Chennai, and then I've just been sort of coaching with them ever since,
Yeah, so you would have coached some of the greatest players of the modern era. Well, one story I remember you telling me about was the bus rides with Chennai, and you always getting sat next to Murali.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Murali.
Yeah, well, Murali did not shut up, right? He just kept talking cricket the whole time. So everyone used to get so annoyed with him. So they just said, right, Huss, you're with Murali. Every single bus trip, you got to sit next to Murali. Every single plane trip, we're putting you next to Murali, and Murali just chew your ear off the whole way. You just keep going, And I loved it. I mean, Murali should be Mr. Cricket. Like, he knows everything about cricket.
He's got you covered.
Oh, mate, by a country mile, He's got some weird theories, I must admit that. But he didn't shut up. And so eventually I had to, pretend I was asleep and put the sunnies on and put the headphones in eventually. But,
Weekend at Bernie's.
but no, he was a lot of fun. But for about 10 years, we had an argument in our team bus, not just Mirrelly and I, but the whole team bus, about who was the greatest player of all time to play the game. And it just kept coming up year after year after year. And we just keep fighting about who's the greatest player. So we had Steve Rickson was our fielding coach. So him and I were Bradman. Bradman's the greatest player of all time, averaged 99. No one's even come close to that. They're like, come on. He played against, guys bowling slow, and they'd sort of clap when they hit one past him, and, but I was like, no one else averaged 85 or 60 or, he was still twice as good as the next player. He didn't bowl, it didn't take any catches. And I was like, nah, he's the greatest player. So then there'd be like Callis, all the Kiwis. So Stephen Fleming, our coach, he's saying, no, Jarks Callis is the best player to play the game. He bowled. He's got almost Ricky Ponting's record with the bat. He's got almost Brett Lee's record with the ball, catches, and I was like, mate, he's not even the best all-rounder of all time. There's Garfield Sobers was better than him, and so these sort of arguments would just be going on year after year, and then the Indians would want to get involved, and then, it was a lot of fun, and it killed the time because we had a lot of long bus trips.
And you played with Callis at the Thunder.
Yeah. Well,
Did you tell him this?
No, I kept that to myself. But he's a great player, no question.
Yeah.
But the best player of all time, he's pretty good.
Well, speaking of which, it kind of bleeds into something that we wanted to bring up before the drinks break, because you're SuperCoach King at the moment. So say if you could bring in 3 players from, I would define it as an era that we know about. I'm going to go off players that I've actually seen with my own eyes.
Okay.
But you can go anywhere with it, Huss, because you're Mr. SuperCoach. It's 3 players that you would, if they were available right now, you would be drafting straight into your SuperCoach side if they were playing the Big Bash.
Okay.
A lot of ifs there, but, just go back through the eras and want a batter, an all-rounder, and a bowler.
All right.
Sammy's going to do it. I'm going to do it as well. You can
want me to start?
You can have first right of refusal and get us to do ours, or you can go.
Should we do one each? Do our
batter.
Batter first. And did I hear you say that you can't have Viv because he's sort of...
Well, Viv's already there.
He's already in
He's
there.
a mythical, like a Bradman of the modern era. Yeah, he's immortal,
right.
As if you wouldn't have
Because
Viv.
he was the name that first came to mind,
Yeah.
like Viv, what a legend.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll go with Junior, Mark Waugh.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't get to play T20 cricket. Great fielder, he could help out with the ball as well, but he would have been a handy player to have.
I've gone a bit off Broadway. I don't know if I've gone off much more Broadway than old mate over here. I reckon he's going to come up with some left field. I've gone Romesh Kaluwitharana.
Kaluwitharana, not bad.
Because I remember that 96 World Cup and they just tweaked their style before it. And him and Jayasuriya now Jayasuriya played a little bit of T20. As far as I can ascertain, Kalu didn't play international T20. He just gave away. Like, he didn't have... You look at his numbers, you go, average, blah, blah, blah. But the way he played, he opened like he was playing T20 before T20 was a thing.
Yeah.
So I reckon he'd be... And good with the gloves as well. Handy with the gloves.
Yeah.
Not the greatest gloveman of all time, but,
You don't have to be.
you want to stack your batting line up in a T20. I reckon that guy at the top of the order would have been a handy acquisition.
Yep, good shout. I've got 3 names, but I'll
You got 3 batters.
I'll refine it to one.
Filter them. Go.
Yeah. Well, I never saw him play, but the highlights and the reputation of Doug Walters.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie.
Like, his statue at the SCG is him playing a hook shot for 6.
With a durry.
So
he hit a 6 off the last ball of the day in Perth to bring up 100, didn't he?
In a session. So he could go.
And I must admit, when T20 started, the off-field stuff and the social environment was very important as well. It's become a bit more serious now, but Dougie would have fit right into that sort of environment.
Never saw him play, so we can rule him out, but I thought he'd be great.
That was just my rule.
Yeah, okay. Young Steve Waugh, when he used to play all the shots, not when he didn't play on the leg side, but when he was brash and we'd bowl bounces and try and hurt Viv.
Started the slow balls, bowled some good slow balls.
Back and hand slow ball. But then, and I know he's played T20 cricket, so it's probably ruling him out, but I would have loved to have seen Ricky Ponting start in this era because he would have been the best T20 player.
He would have made hay.
He would have been like Harry Brook.
Well, I've actually got a story about that. Do you remember Australia's first ever T20 international?
Eden Park,
Eden Park against New Zealand. And so Ricky's out there and he's smashing them everywhere. And I'm out there at the other end, like at the back end of the innings. Anyway, there's 2 balls to go in our innings. We're batting first. 2 balls to go. Ricky's on, I think he's on 99 not out. So if there's 2 balls to go, what do you think? I'm a new player, young player to the team. I think this is my first overseas tour with the Australian team. what do you think you should do as a young player? Is it just to get a single and get the captain on strike so he can bring up 100?
Would have thought so.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? But I'm thinking, no way, mate. This is a T20. 2 balls, you've got to try and smack it out of the park. You've got to put the team first, don't you?
Yeah.
So I've charged down, I think it was against Chris Cairns, and just smashed one over cover for 4. And I'm thinking, oh no, is Ricky going to talk to me again? And so I gave him a look, and he looked back at me and almost just nodded his head to say, okay, I like it. Putting the team first, you know? And I had that split moment there. It was like, is he going to kill me here, or is he actually going to... So sure enough, I don't think I got many off the last ball, but I stopped Ricky Ponting getting 100 in the first ever one-day international.
Yep. And then earlier this year, Pat Cummins did the same to Alex Carey at the end of a test match. So hey, you're
got to
in
put
good
the team first.
You're in good company.
I was a bit nervous. I wasn't sure how the captain was going to react.
Well, Pat maintains that he didn't see what Alex Carey was on. He didn't look at the scoreboard.
Right.
You looked at the scoreboard.
Oh, I knew
before that
exactly how many Ricky was on.
All right, give us an all-rounder.
All-rounder, okay. It might be controversial because he's better bowler, but I think he would have been handy with the bat as well. I'm going to Wasim Akram.
Oh, yes. I'll go to Pakistan for my bowler, but
Stole my.
He
You stole yours?
Yeah.
the new ball, he can swing it both ways. He would have been deadly with the old ball as well.
So you went...
I had 2 bowls. Wasn't was one of them. The second one was Jeff Thompson.
Oh, we're on bowlers,
Hang
are
on,
we?
that was
so
my all-rounder. That's my
all-round,
all-rounder.
Sorry, they were my all-round. Well, my all,
Teaser alert.
probably going to go JT.
Spoiler alert, I should say.
Yeah.
Teaser alert. What? Another drink.
Well, Jaisaree's played,
Yeah.
but he would have been a gun,
Yep.
young Jaisarees.
And handy with the ball as well.
Oh, yeah. Dart
Very
him
handy
in,
with it.
dart him
Just
in.
little
Yep.
darts in at the pads.
Yep.
and-
In a circle, run outs.
Yeah.
What about Simon O'Donnell?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Hits a huge ball.
He hit one onto the ladies' stand roof one night at the SCG on the
Yeah.
long side, I'm pretty sure.
He's got
like
that.
when the pitch
He's
was...
got that beige seat up at the MCG.
That's true, yeah.
He's bopped at 150 metres. Bowl style balls, could do it all. So, yeah, Simon O'Donnell.
Good call.
I went Lance Klusner.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, good one.
Nice.
Just by virtue of remembering our 99 World
Recap.
Cup special.
Yeah.
And go back at it. It's way back in the feed now, but it's
Yeah.
reliving what happened in the 99 World Cup. And BJ and Shane Lee talking about watching this guy just motor along in that semi-final. Or was it the one before it? I can't remember which one it was
No,
where he got...
No,
it was the semi, yeah.
Yeah.
And just had this big plank of wood that probably no one else could pick up.
The tree trunk.
And he had a really big bat as well. And he just bludgeoned
Yeah.
everything. And he was kind of reshaping how all-rounders
Good call,
played
yeah.
in that.
Like
done.
that one.
Bowlers.
Bowler.
Oh, we'll leave you to last. You can have lucky last.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
that all right?
Yeah.
Are we going to get there, though? That's the thing.
Yeah,
to be
yeah, I
pondering.
think we'll get there.
Wacko Eunice.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Just, I don't know if the ball would be moving as much as it would be with the old ball in a test match with the white ball in a T20 after late overs, but
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Someone with serious pace is
Yeah.
always going to be handy in
And,
T20 cricket
and
as well.
Yorkers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Great Yorker.
horrible.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Jeff Thompson's either going none for 60 or 4 for 11.
There's
I'm
a
taking him.
myth in the northern beaches of Sydney that Jeff Thompson once played at Manly Oval and bowled a bouncer that went for 6 without touching anything.
believe
I've heard that rumour as well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's enough smoke there to
Big
believe
ground.
it, isn't there?
Big ground.
Not particularly, but still, it's hard. I would have thought it's hard to do.
Imagine facing that. Imagine being 20 metres away.
No.
I love the footage of, what's the English commentator, left-hander,
Gower. No,
No.
a Bumble.
Bumble.
Yeah.
Bumble
David
getting
Lloyd.
hit in the nuts up at the Gabba off Jeff Thompson, and with those tiny little boxes they used to wear, that would have. Oh, that would have.
Pink plastic.
Oh,
So Jeff Thompson.
I'm going someone you might not expect, Saqlain Mushtaq.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we all thought when T20 started it was going to be the death of spinners, but spinners have actually been probably the best T20 bowlers. And when he burst onto the scene, no one had seen a doosra before. And so if he had have come out without anyone seeing the doosra, I reckon he would have cleaned up and got a lot of wickets. So I'm going Saki.
How good. Quick drinks break on Willow Talk. Plenty more cricket chat with Mr. Cricket after the break. Here with Mike Hussey, the SuperCoach ambassador. So don't forget to get your SuperCoach teams in, get involved with your mates and play along. What is it, 25 grand?
Yep, for the
Prize?
winner. Free to play.
Weekly cash prizes too.
Weekly cash prizes
Yep.
as well. There you go. What is that for the best?
That's not what you play
team of
for,
the
though.
week.
You play for the bragging rights, you know?
Bit of coin at Christmas doesn't
Well, it'd be
stay us.
handy. It'd be handy.
Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit here. We love these old stories that that Dale Steyn one. It was still, it was like you painted it so well. It felt like I just put the virtual reality goggles on and I was involved in that at the other end. I was like, thank God. My goodness. But 2005 Boxing Day, Sammy's put this one on the rundown with Glenn McGrath. So, MCG, South Africa, you're 27 when McGrath walks out the crease, and you're probably thinking, I'll be happy to get to 30 here. It's 9 for 248, but you put on 107. You end up with 122. Well played. He ends up with 11 not out. It's fair to say he rotated the strike pretty well. But you got out. So did you cost Glenn McGrath a century?
Well, that's a very long bow, that. No, I don't know. It's one of my favourite, times of cricket. Like there's a lot of side stories to this as well. Because so when I was growing up, it was one of my dreams to play in a Boxing Day Test, and a lot of my training was based around playing in a Boxing Day Test. So my dad used to take us in the winter up the sandhills and run us up these sandhills, and I'd be saying to myself, "This is for a Boxing Day Test. This is for a Boxing Day Test." Anyway, you get to the Boxing Day Test, which I'm just like, how exciting is this? And yeah, we're 9 down. McGrath walks to the crease, and it's almost like, well, the pressure goes off a bit because you sort of think, well, whatever we get now is just a bit of a bonus. So let's just try and manipulate the field a bit. Let's try and frustrate them for as long as we can. And I still remember saying I was new to the team, and McGrath had played he probably played 100 Test matches by that stage. And I'm telling Glenn McGrath, right, Glenn, you're not playing any shots. You're just going to survive. Well, I'm going to take 4 balls. You're going to take the last 2. You've got to get through 2. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing? I'm telling this 10-year Test player, legend of Australian cricket, and I'm telling him what to do. And he'd swing at a wide one and play a miss. And I'd be like, "Oi, you, knuckle down. No shots from you." And he's like, "Oh, you're not running my runs, And we're having these arguments out in the middle. And I was like, "Mate, every run, blah, blah, blah." And so, but it was actually so much fun. And I couldn't get my head around that this is the biggest Test match that I could ever be involved in. And it was just like I was playing in the backyard with my brother Dave, It was like the field was going back and in and back and in, and we were trying to frustrate them. So, and I just loved how frustrated Graham Smith was getting because, he'd put the field back and I'd just hit a nice shot but wouldn't take any runs. And then eventually go, okay, well, come on in, we'll try and keep him on strike. And I'd be able to try and get one away for 4 and then sneak a cheeky single and I'd get the strike again the next over. And it sort of just went on longer and longer and longer. And then McGrath was, he was getting more confident. And so I'd have to try and rein him in. But he started playing a couple of nice shots as well. And I don't know, it just sort of just snowballed from there. But the thing was, I just couldn't believe how much fun it was to be playing my biggest Test match of my life. And just every run's a bonus. Felt no pressure. Just go and enjoy it and get whatever we can. But I did get out. And we'd got, us into a decent position in the game. And I remember walking off and I was, just waving to the crowd, saying thanks very much. And I look over and there's Glenn McGrath with his bat up like this and clapping it, thank you. Like he'd made 150. And I'm like, hey, this is my time, mate, But he also said, he goes, I am bloody exhausted. I don't know how I'm going to bowl, And sure enough, I think he came in and he struggled, because he'd batted for such a long period of time and we concentrated really hard. And but yeah, it was one of the best days, and it was also quite special to me because I think the night before Kerry Packer died, we had a minute's silence before that day's play, and I mean, I just appreciated what Kerry Packer had done for the game. He was a bit of a pioneer in that, in helping the players get better conditions. I mean, Ian Chappell was big in that as well, and so it was a bit more meaningful for me in that respect as well. But isn't it funny how things work as well? So all the families come over for that Christmas period. Well, my son was mucking around in the hotel in the bath, and this is just before the Test match started, and he fell off the bath and smashed his teeth open. So the night before the Test started, we were in hospital with him, for hours. Eventually I had to leave. I said, I've got to play tomorrow. So I left. My wife was at the hospital most of the night. I'd left the other kids back with at the hotel. Adam Gilchrist's wife was looking after them. So I thought, I better get back. So I remember thinking, oh, this is a nightmare, night before the Test match. Biggest Test match of my life. My son's in hospital. We get through the first day and my wife said, I think I'm going to have to go home, So sure enough, they flew back to Perth And the next day was the day that I was able to go out there and play that innings with Glenn McGrath. So it's just a bizarre experience and a bizarre test match all round.
And is this the child that likes Willow Talk?
Yeah, William. Yeah, there he goes.
Shout out to William.
William and Willow Talk. Yeah,
William Talk.
Spooky.
I just remember you running down the wicket and hitting Makarantini over cover. Like this would have been your first 10 tests easy, right? You debuted in 05, so it would have been really early doors, and you just running down the wicket hitting.
I pinched myself as well, thinking, "What the heck are you doing? You're playing a test match and you're just playing it like it's a muck around game in the backyard on Christmas Day." You know, it was a lot of fun, and it was nice to annoy the South Africans for a few hours, that's for sure.
Absolutely. A Christmas lunch with the team. I mean, obviously, by the sounds, this one. Oh no, it was the evening, was it? That Will did a number on himself.
Yeah, it was
Christmas.
after that. Yeah.
So after all the Secret Santa gifts and everything like that. But by this stage, were the Secret Santa gifts still of a family tone, or were they the Darren Lehman type era where it got a...
No, we were very straight down the line, mate. You know, we played with a straight bat. Back
Who was best? Who was best with the... Who was like, oh, yes, you did a Secret Santa, didn't you? Like
no,
everyone...
I can't remember. I reckon Santa turned up and Cricket Australia had organised presents for all the kids and things like that. We didn't really do much around the team. I don't think we got presents. It's always an awkward time because, I mean, I was quite serious about my preparation, and you've got to be up and about Christmas Day. You know, you've got to make it exciting for the kids. You go down, try and do a bit of training, and then you get back, you got lunch on. I was exhausted, you know, and I just wanted to have a bit of my own time, just try and get my head right, rest up for the big test match the next day. But it's hard because you've got to be up and about for the kids and make it exciting. And I always found the balance of, you know, Christmas Day spirit, but also getting your head in the game for the test match the next day, really difficult to balance.
Went okay that year, though.
Did all right. Was that the carbon bat as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really count.
That definitely counts.
Did McGrath have the carbon bat?
No, I think he had a twig. Bit of balsa wood or something.
SCG India 2012. So 150 not out in a 334 run stand with Michael Clarke, who made 329. So 334 is obviously a pretty special number in Australian Test cricket, the men's side. By this stage, obviously, Matthew Hayden had gone past the Dons 334 against the might of Zimbabwe. But Mark Taylor obviously stopped his innings in Pakistan on 334. Was there any chat out in the middle about Michael Clarke getting past that number?
No, none whatsoever. I mean, that's one of the greatest innings I've ever seen. And I was so lucky just to be at the other end watching Michael Clarke bat. It was phenomenal batting. I don't think I've seen him bat that well ever in his whole career. It was incredible at the SCG's home crowd. But no, there was never any talk about passing Bradman or anything like that. I think he was just waiting for me to try and get to 150. And then I think he wanted to declare and, get stuck into the Indians. But no, there was no talk about beating Bradman. I mean, he probably knew himself that he didn't want to go past just so he didn't cop stick from the public out there, because he seemed to cop plenty of stick about other things, about the cars he was driving or the colour of his hair or which girlfriend he had at the time.
Hasn't happened since, though. That's the good news for him.
Yeah, true.
Well, maybe they declared on 334 run partnership, so maybe that was...
Yeah, we didn't think that deeply out there, man. No, it wasn't.
That 150 for you, though, like you were actually in pretty good form at the back end of your career. Looking through the records, like you were still scoring plenty of hundreds at that point.
Well,
but there's a bit of emotion in that one.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was quite funny because I think Ricky got 100 as well. Yeah. So I had to wait with the pads on for so long.
They got on 300 as well.
Yeah, Punter made 100. Pup he must have been 200 at the time or something like that. He was smoking them everywhere. And so I'm sitting there for hours and hours and hours with the pads on. I think the coach, might have been Mickey Arthur, said, "Oh, Huss, do you want to take the pads off? But Hads can go in next. Give yourself a bit of a mental break." And I was like, "No bloody way, mate. I want to get out there." But you do go through sort of these different waves of sometimes you're a bit sleepy and then you're up and about. And eventually Punter got out and I went out there to bat. And it was funny, Virat Kohli, a very young Virat Kohli, was playing in that test match. And he walked past me just as I was walking out and said, "You know what happens after a long partnership? You've been sitting there for a long time. Don't get out straight away." Not in that accent, of course, but, in the Indian way. And I just gave him this little look, "You cheeky young bastard."
That's a great sledge. Well done.
Yeah, but I don't know. Thankfully, I think Ishant Sharma bowled this big, wide half volley first ball and my eyes lit up. And thankfully, it came because I've nicked plenty of those to slip.
Yeah.
I remember Morne Morkula, first ball when we got bowled out for 42. 47. Yeah. First ball, I chased one of those, nicked straight to second or third slip. But thankfully, this one came out of the middle and I was away. So unlucky Virat.
Sri Lanka. So you played 8 tests v Sri Lanka, 994 runs at 110 with 5 centuries. An okay record, I'm guessing. So you played 3 tests there in 2011, scored 95, 15, 142, 118 and 93 with a view to what's happening at the end of January with our test squad over there. It'd be a cool little series, intriguing over there. They've got some really good players on the rise as well. What is the key to getting on top of Sri Lanka? I think one of the more underestimated challenges in cricket, because it's not an India and it's not an England, so it's not a huge series where there's pageantry about it, but still bloody hard to do well over there.
Conditions are really tough, you know. You'd have to be a great player to score runs over there. No. I mean, it is really challenging. The heat and the humidity is just so intense over there as well to start with, and pitches obviously very foreign to what we're used to here in Australia. We're used to the fast, bouncy pitches, grass on the pitch. Over there, it's literally like batting on the beach. You know, I remember playing the first game in Gaul, and thank goodness we won the toss, because by day 2, the pitch was just falling apart. It was powdery and it was just a nightmare. But nightmare for both teams, but a lot of spin. So, yeah, I mean, you need a few tours there just to sort of figure out how to score runs there. I mean, the first couple of times you go to India or Sri Lanka, you just all at sea. You've got no idea how to score a run, you know. But once you sort of start going a few times, you figure out how to how you're going to score runs in different areas and different parts of the field. That's why I was really annoyed when I think Usman Khawaja had a poor series to Sri Lanka, and they basically said, right, we're not picking him in any of those tours anymore because he can't play spin. Well, I just think that's rubbish, you know, because it takes you a few times, a few goes at it, you know, to learn how to do it. And I'm so glad that Uzi has sort of gone on those sort of tours to Pakistan or wherever and scored a lot of runs, and he's a very good player of spin. But it took time to sort of figure it out. And I probably was lucky that I'd been on a few tours to India and I sort of knew what my game plan was going to be against spin.
That series, that first test, Nathan Lyon's debut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember young Gaz?
Yeah.
Beautiful head of hair.
He did. Well, I mean, obviously I love Gaz, but we had a team. You talk about the transition of the team at that stage. Like we had like a group of senior players, and then we had this crop of youngsters sort of coming through behind. So it was really mixed. And Justin Langer was our batting coach at that stage. So he sort of said, right, one of your older guys, we're going to have a buddy system. One of your older guys, you got to saddle up with a young guy and just be there, listen to him, you know, show him the ropes a bit, just sort of make him feel comfortable at test level, because it's not easy, especially in Sri Lanka. And I got Gaz, you know, and I landed on my feet there. Like, you know, we just hit it off straight away. And remember I was at mid-on for his first ball in Test cricket. You could just see how nervous the poor kid was, you know, like, and I think he still gets so nervous before every game.
Yeah.
And to watch that ball, I vividly remember the ball coming out of the hand and just seeing it come down and think, wow, that looks like a good ball. And then Sangakkara, Nick, good catch by Pup at first, slip, first ball. Oh, man, I got goosebumps now just thinking about it, you know. I'm just so happy for him, you know, because he was someone that I eventually passed the team song on to him.
Yeah.
And it was because I loved the character he was. I loved the person he is. He respected the past players. He respected the history of the game. He played the game for the right reasons, you know, like he worked really hard. He wasn't getting caught up in all the external, you know, the fast cars and the money and the fame and the fortune, all that sort of thing. He played cricket for the game's sake, you know, and so that's why I passed the song on to him, because I felt like I wasn't sure he was going to be able to go on and play as much as he did because the team was in transition, but I knew inside he had good character, and I hope that held him in good stead.
How did that process play out? You've probably told the story a few times, but how you actually approach someone to say, I'm handing the song over to you. Does he know it's coming? Is it like you just have over a beer, or is it an official process where you send an email and say, I hereby decree you, you know?
The board ratified it.
Yeah, the board has ratified it. And how's it going?
Well, for me, when Justin Langer passed the song on to me, was his last test match when he retired at the SCG after we won the Ashes 5-0. He wrote me a handwritten letter and slipped it under my hotel room door, and like it was amazing letter. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So I thought when I pass it on, I'm going to do the same thing for Gaz. And I retired in Melbourne. I was going to play one more test match in Sydney. So when I retired, Gaz was like really shocked that I actually retired. And then when I also passed him a letter, and told him that he was the perfect man in my eyes to take on the team song. I think he was just blown away, and completely shocked. But it was actually a really nice moment, and we had a big hug and, wished him all well. And, he's obviously gone on and had a great career.
And poor old Alex Carey had the song for a couple but never got to sing it in England.
No one's sung.
Just a stitch up for Alex after no more results in the Ashes.
Well, I reckon he'd be a good man
Yeah.
to lead the team song as well. Another great character, good bloke. And apparently he's pretty good celebrator as well.
But there's no surprise for him, though. There's not going to be no letter. Or there might have been a letter in the Ashes when Gaz handed over when he pinged the calf. But
not sure.
Like, geez, he's stiff if he misses out now when Gaz retires and he gives it to someone else. I'm sure Alex will get it.
I used to love it because, like, Ricky was the captain for most of my career. And I used to love it when we'd win a test match and we're in the room, say at the SCG, enjoying each other's company. And Ricky'd be like, "Come on, Huss, when you're doing the song." So, Ricky, you're not in charge anymore, mate. You just sit back and relax, enjoy yourself. I'll take on the responsibility. You just relax. I'm boss now, mate.
Bit of power. Goes to everyone's head.
Exactly.
Why don't we skip to the last Secret Cricket Club question here, which is Tyler asks, the strangest, weirdest, most iconic place you led the team song?
Oh, yeah, good one. Good question. Had a couple of really good ones. The one I enjoy, there's a few I enjoyed. Gee whiz, I enjoyed a lot. How do I narrow it down to one?
Yeah, you can give us a couple.
I really enjoyed doing it in the Adelaide Oval scoreboard. We beat India in a test match, and all the boys went up, and I always because we always look up at the scoreboard, and we're looking at it all day, 5 days, 6 hours a day. So I wonder what it looks like coming back looking the other way, So thankfully we got the permission to go up there, and the boys were so respectful. So we went up there, and the guys were like, "Oh, it's so good to have you up here. You sing your team song. That's awesome." I said, "Oh, is it okay if we spill some beer?" He goes, "Don't worry, mate. It's fine. It's fine. We have beers up here all the time." And I said, but the boys got up there, and they treated it like it was their brand new Rolls Royce. They wanted to put towels down. They wanted to don't touch anything. They were so respectful, which was quite nice, really. But I really did enjoy doing the song up there, looking back onto the Adelaide Oval, seeing it from their perspective. That was a lot of fun. We won a test match at Galle and in Sri Lanka, and the fort behind the ground there, we went up there, and the boys had a good walk around there. That was a pretty special song as well. I remember we won a unwinnable test match against Pakistan at the SCG. And
you and McGrath again put on.
No, Siddle. I batted with Siddle for a long time.
McGrath predicted an Aussie win by 35 runs, and you end up winning by 36 runs.
Really?
Or something.
Yeah. Okay.
You made 100 in that game, didn't you?
Yeah. And Peter Siddle took the last catch at sort of a deepish sort of mid-off, and late in the night, we all sort of went out onto the SCG, reenacted that sort of moment right where Peter Siddle took the catch, and Nathan Horrocks bowled the ball, and we saw the swing, and Siddle goes back, and we all charged in over Sids and belted out the team song there. That was pretty cool as well.
Brilliant. Should we get into the secret? I think we'll do the questions now. We'll go back to our last one. We'll leave like a special note to a special human being in Australian cricket towards the end. But Secret Cricket Club questions. So Nick asks, who's your tip to win the BBL this summer? Basic one, Mr. Supercoach. Here we go. You've done all the data.
Yeah. It's a bloody hard one to pick. I mean, the Scorchers look great again. They're going to be hard to beat, but can't pick them every year. The Sixers look pretty good again last night. They've got an experienced coach. So you always say the Scorchers and the Sixers are always up there, but I'm backing the Thunder in to go from bottom to top. David Warner,
first to first,
leading the charge there, captain. Made a couple of good shrewd signings, so hopefully the Thunder can get the job done.
Do you identify as a Scorcher or a Thunder player?
I'm more of a Thunder player. I did play the first 2 years for the Scorchers, but I think I played one game in the first year and maybe only 2 or 3 in the second year. And then, going to the Thunder was so much fun.
Captain the mighty Thunder.
Yeah, we won our first title. It was a great experience because, to be honest, Thunder were below ground zero at that stage. And I'm not just saying when I got there it turned around. Like, it took 3 years of hard graft by everyone, not just me, but all the players, the off-field staff, the amount of work we all did to try and build a the team up to be respected in the competition, but then to ultimately win it was incredible journey. And it was a really difficult decision for me to make because I'm West Australian through and through, and to leave the Scorchers, I think Justin Langer was coach, and I think he wanted to kill me. Like I told him at lunch one day.
Doesn't sound like him at all.
And he just said, he looked at me, you know those eyes that he's got? He just looked at me and goes, "You want to go and play for the Sydney effing Thunder?" And I was like, well, I'm thinking about it. And he just got up and walked off.
Took it well. Ben asked, what was your best test match in your opinion? We might have already mentioned it.
Well, the best feeling I've ever had on a cricket field was hitting the winning runs in Amazing Adelaide. That was, again, a test match that no one thought we could win. To be out there.
Still remember.
3 overs to go.
Still remember Channel 9 did a cross while you were batting, and they crossed to Warney, who looked absolutely spent because he'd bowled his socks off, and he was sitting there with a pizza and a can of Coke.
That was
just
actually,
having a great time. He was in his element there.
Well,
with his whites on, no shoes.
They did well to get him out of the dressing room, because in the old dressing rooms in the Adelaide Oval, you could sit there and look out the back window at all the corporate hospitality and that going on at the back. And he used to sit back there with a little smoke and just sort of watch what was going on and yell out to any young lady that was walking past down the bottom. So he didn't actually watch much cricket there, Warney, at the Adelaide Oval. Geez, he bowled like a genius.
Oh, incredible.
Sam asks, not me, why the number 48 on the jersey?
Yeah, good question. Well, I don't really care about the number on my back at all. So basically, when I first played for Australia, that was the next cab off the rank.
Really?
Yeah, I think...
all the other 1 to 47 was taken?
Well, I think they'd been used before or something like that. So 48, they just said, that's the next one. And I said, I don't care. I was number 2 for Western Australia.
Yep.
And I think that was just because I opened the batting, and so I was the second player on the batting list. So, I mean, I don't care at all about the number on the back. I do care for the number player I was for Australia, so the 150th player for Australia in one-day cricket and the 393rd Test player. That has more meaning to me, but the number on the back, I didn't really care too much.
Rebecca asks, who is the toughest cricketer you have played against?
Well, I've got 2. Dale Steyn, which it's already sort of been explained to there why. Yeah. And the other one's Murali. And they both start with the eyes, actually. Like, so Murali, as he comes into bowl, like his eyes are like this wide. You can see the whites, and you're thinking, holy heck. And then he's got the weird action, and it's scary because you don't know which way the ball's going. Like, most of the time you don't know. And you can hear the revs on the ball as it's coming down. It's like, as it comes down the pitch. And then there's normally about 4 or 5 chirpy Sri Lankans around that, sort of chirping around you. And it's like, what have I come into here? So that was pretty darn challenging as well.
Sounds it.
Must be said that that 3 Test series in 2011, no Murali. So that's just...
Yeah, he played in Australia. I played him in 2 Test matches here, but the pitches, thankfully, were quite...
You got him as well.
Quite conducive to more, not much spin.
Just on that, one of the Willow Talk stable questions is net battles. Who was the fiercest bowler you faced in the nets?
Oh, gosh. It was horrendous. I've got, probably 2 that sort of spring to mind. Mitch Johnson, firstly.
Yeah.
And he used to say to all the batters that, Huss, I've got to work on my bounces as well. So you're going to cop 3 in your net session. So you're literally just waiting for those 3 bouncers to come and just look in survival mode, hoping, is this it? That's one, Mitch. That's one bouncer, I guess, yeah, no, there's a couple more to come, and he bowled so fast. But the scariest one I've ever had was against Brett Lee. We were on an Ashes series 2009 in England at Headingley. Brett Lee had a side strain earlier in the tour, and he was desperate to prove his fitness for the 4th Test match at Headingley. And I remember I was waiting to go in and bat. Ricky's in there facing Brett Lee. Brett Lee, I was watching thinking, gee, that looks fast. He's charging in off the long run, bowling full tilt. And Punter is just smashing him up into the stands. And I was thinking, maybe it's not too bad. Like, if Punter can, collect these short balls and put them into the stands, it mustn't be too bad. Anyway, Punter comes out, and Binger's bowling like back foot over the front line as well. So he's bowling off about 16, 17 metres. Anyway, I just see Binger come charging in down the hill at Headingley. First ball, just bang, smashes me in the head so hard. Did not even see it. Did not even move. And I'm just like staggering around all over the place. There was no concussion protocols or anything like that. And I was like wobbly. The coach was Tim Nielsen. He came running over, and him and Binger had the biggest argument. What are you bloody doing, Binger? You're trying to kill our bloody players. Get your bloody foot behind the line. And Binger was like desperate to prove his fitness. He's like, you can bugger off then. Get stuffed. I'm trying to get picked for the test match. And I'm just sort of wobbling around all over the place. And that was probably the scariest net session, trying to get through that. Was Binger trying to prove his fitness for that test. Yeah.
You're still here to tell the tale, so that's the main thing. Adam asks, what was... Oh, no, we'll go to the next one because it kind of ties into what you just faced with Brett Lee. Josh asks, fastest bowl you personally bowled? Fastest ball you personally bowled?
I don't know. Probably mid-120s. Mate, you shouldn't take the mickey out of my bowling. You know, I've got some big wickets.
That's a fair question.
I've got 7 test wickets. Kumar Sangakkara, he's in my pocket. But the one I have the most joy with is I got Dwayne Bravo out in a test match at the Gabba. And so I've worked a lot with Dwayne Bravo. We played IPL together at CSK. Then he was on a bowling coach. Well, I've been batting coach there as well. So any team meeting we have with CSK, I bring up the footage of me bouncing him out last over before lunch at the Gabba, which drives him nuts because in the middle of the Gabba, it's last over before lunch. Pup just goes, Huss, might as well have a go. Anyway, Bravo comes down to the young West Indian opener and just says, hey, man, just be careful here. You know, they're just trying to get a wicket before lunch. Just don't do anything stupid. So sure enough, he gets a little single and gets down off strike. Bravo comes on to strike. And I think I'm going to bounce him here. So I charge him, bowl this bouncer. Of course, the West Indian way, the Calypso way, he has to take it on. Hook shot. Straight down Ben Hilfenhouse's throat at fine leg. You little beauty, Bravo! And I remind him about it every single day.
Send him a message when you're at the IPL. It just says, Happy Easter, Bunny.
Yeah, true.
Well, Adam asks, not this Adam,
Not
what
me.
was your pathway like into professional cricket?
Whew, long.
In 60 seconds.
Yeah, it was a long one.
But did you go through, were there under 17s, 19s,
Yeah.
Australian teams back then? Yeah.
So I came through the state pathway. I played state under 17s. We had a carnival in Canberra. And then I played 2 years of the 19s.
Yeah.
And in my second year, Western Australia won the title down in Victoria, which was fantastic. And I managed to scrape into the Australian team. And we had a tour to India for 8 weeks. And the time that you were there, I'd never been overseas, I don't think, at that stage. No, that's probably right. The time that we were there, 8 weeks in India, 2 or 3 star hotels, we played all around the country. At the time, you think this is the worst time of my life. But looking back on it afterwards, it was the best tour you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
You know, we all got sick. Brett Lee was there, Andrew Simons, Jason Gillespie.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Characters galore.
Yeah. It was so much fun looking back, and we learnt so much as well. You know, playing in Indian conditions. They had a good team. They had VVS Laxman playing for them. I don't think we got him out for 8 weeks.
Familiar tale.
Yeah, and it was just one of the best, introductions to overseas travel you could ever have. It was fantastic.
Being a quick back then.
He was quick, but the pitches were quite slow in India, and so Binger really cracked it when our keeper, a guy called Peter Roach, who now works for Cricket Australia, he decided to try and fire Binger up. And he goes, Binger, I'm going to come and stand up to the stumps.
Oh, what?
How do you reckon that went down? So Binger, the other one was Jason Gillespie. So he wasn't picked initially in the under-19 team. But we had an injury, a guy called Shane Jurgensen. He was on the tour, but he got a back injury. So this guy, Jason Gillespie, turns up. And he was a military medium pacer at that stage. And he came out with these big calls saying, next year I'll be playing for South Australia. The year after I'll be playing for Australia. And we were all like, come on, Dizzy. You've got to be kidding me. Sure enough, next year he played for South Australia. Following year he played a one-day international for Australia in India. And he bowled like the wind. And he was amazing. Amazing.
How good. Corey's got a question. Who likes cricket more, you or Marnus? It's a fair question. I'm intrigued by the answer.
I don't know. I think, we both love it. I've got to love it more than Marnus, don't I?
Do you, what was the thing he talked about in the pre-season with us on Willow Talk?
BPI.
The BPI on his bat?
Balance point index.
Do you ever get into that?
What the heck is that?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I used to bring the scales, the bat scales on tour.
That's probably
and
analog Marnus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like your TikTok timer as opposed to your digital watch. So,
yeah. No, I don't know. He can have it. he can have the title.
I wonder who loves it more, Murali or Marnus.
Yeah, that's probably a better question.
I didn't know Murali was like that.
Yeah, neither.
He's different level altogether.
Yeah. Was he one of those guys who, like, he loved talking about it, but he knew everything about everyone, like the techniques and all of that? So one of them.
But he was also one of the most insecure bowlers of all time. So he'd be playing in the IPL, and we've got the other team 8 down, and we're going to win by 80 runs or whatever on a turning Chennai pitch. Number 10 comes in, and he's got all the fielders back on the boundary, and I'm like, Murali, what are you doing, mate? You're turning it backwards. You're bowling against number 10. He's not going to be able to hit you over mid-on, or mid-off. And he goes, I said, bring him up. And he goes, no. They must stay back. And I was like, what are you talking about? So amazing how you sort of, we're all insecure cricketers, really.
Christopher asked, do you feel your findings from reviewing South Australian cricket are coming to fruition? Because as we sit here right now, I do believe, Sam, they are...
Top of the shield.
I'm happy to take all the credit for that, yeah.
You're taking the credit for the 4 for 4 down in down in Belrive a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not taking any credit for that. I mean, that was a few years ago now. I mean, there was a few recommendations that I made.
You're seeing them in practice?
Well, McSweeney was one. So basically, one of the recommendations was that South Australia is one of the smaller populations in Australia. They were on a path where they wanted to promote their own talent, which is absolutely fine, like South Australian-born talent. But if there wasn't enough talent there, then they should look to try and bring interstate players in. We want the best players from around Australia playing Sheffield Shield cricket. So if there was, obviously New South Wales have bigger population, Queensland, Victoria. So if there's top players that can't get an opportunity in those states, it might be worth trying to pinch a couple and get them in your system here. And I think McSweeney came from Queensland, embedded himself in the South Australian system, has come through and is
McAndrew
now...
as well.
McAndrew, yeah, very, very good cricketer. They've got a few that have come from outside. And look, I understand, like, being a proud West Australian, you want to promote your own and things like that as well, but it'd be silly not to get the best talent playing first-class cricket and thinking of the bigger picture of producing Australian players. So, I mean, that was one of the recommendations, but that was probably only one. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than that.
I bet.
They're on fire at the moment. Neil asks, how often do people bring up your drop catch at the MCG looking into the sun?
It's the first thing that Fox play every year. Like, we start a new test summer, and within the first half an hour of play, they're playing. And I say, what are you talking? Why is this on now? Let's get out of the way early. And, this is where the game is such a great leveler. That's the worst feeling I've ever had in any test match that I've ever played. So let me set the scene, though. We're playing South Africa. I get out in the first innings, Dale Steyn, first for a duck in the first innings, and I went to play it. I went to let it go. It just feathered the bottom of my bat, and I get caught behind. So a bit unlucky, out for a duck. Then we're out in the field, Dale Steyn batting, Horrocks bowling, goes straight up, and I think, okay, don't panic. It's gone up. I'll get this one. Goes into the sun. It's okay. Don't panic. Just shuffle a bit to the right. It'll come out of the sun. Shuffle a bit to the left. Shivers, it's not coming out of the sun. Shuffle a bit, boom, and it just lands right next to my foot. And he makes his highest test score. It's the match-winning partnership. I come out in the second innings. Mornay Morkel bowling from round the wicket. Bumper hits me in the head. Goes to square leg. No reviews back in those days. Alim Dar gives me out caught. So I've got a shocking decision. Second innings, out for one. So I've got a duck and one. And I've had the most embarrassing, drop catch. I didn't even get a hand on it. And we've lost the test match and the series. Yeah. How do you reckon I was feeling at that stage in test cricket? I'm thinking, this game you got to enjoy the good days, because I tell you what, there's plenty of bad days.
Oh, well, at least you can laugh about it now. How long did it take you to start laughing about it, though? 10 years?
I laugh about it every single day this year. I mean, year on, year out, because Fox keep playing it every day.
Well, the good thing is for you that Howie got hit in the head by a bail by Brett Lee, so that might be the go-to piece of vision.
I don't think so. I'm sure it'll still keep coming up.
No, Howie has a way of being able to weave those things in. But we'll get to our question about punter, shall we? Sammy, you can introduce this one.
Well, this episode drops on Thursday. As you're listening to it now, it's Ricky Ponting's 50th birthday. 50 for punter. What would it be 50 number... I don't know, 200 in his career. But give us some punter stories. Maybe the first time you met him, you would have met him as an opponent at a young age.
Yeah, I played. Oh yeah, my very first Shield game was against punter. I played Tassie down at Hobart. He made a double 100. I've never fielded for so long in my entire life. I mean, as a younger guy, he was a bit brash. He was confident, obviously a great player to take on the bowlers, but he was also quite lively off the field as well.
Yeah, a little too confident one night at King's Cross, I remember, after a one-day. But anyway.
Yeah.
Goatee punter.
Goatee punter.
He's not the easiest guy to get to know, to be honest. Like, he's pretty straight. Like, he's a great guy, a good sense of humour. But he doesn't give you much in the early days, especially. So it's sort of, you're not sure where you stand with him a lot. But I think you've almost got to earn his respect a bit as well. And so, we talked about that T20 in New Zealand. I feel as though that's where I earned his respect a little bit, that I was willing to do whatever what the team needed. The team always came first. And Ricky is such a team-orientated guy. Like, he's such a competitive bloke. Probably the most competitive bloke I've ever come across. But the thing I love about Ricky is that he backs his guys in. Like, if you've got his respect and he likes you as a player and he wants you in the team, he will fight for you. And you really feel that as a player. Like, I went through some periods where I was battling for runs, and I felt like he was in my corner all the time. And, he set great standards at training. You just want to try and follow him. But he knew the time when to sort of, relax and enjoy himself and great sense of humour. So I don't know. He was great captain, great leader, great player. I think that's probably the other thing. Batting with him was just so much fun because he was the best in the world by a country mile. And so teams were just so worried bowling to Ricky. If you're at the other end, they'd almost relax when you come on to strike. So, don't have to bowl a Ricky, and then you get a few loose ones, I
was going to say, at like end of over, you go up to him and he's hit this ridiculous shot that is out of the question for most people with a bat. What does he come down and say? Does he start talking about something else and you're just going, how'd you hit that? What'd you do there? Like, what's the chat like with him out there, or is he just in this?
Generally, I've got one funny story, actually. Generally, though, he's pretty serious. Like, he'd play the ridiculous shot, come down and goes, next ball, keep finding the middle of the bat, give him nothing, drive him into the dirt. It's like, okay, yeah, no worries, Ricky. But there was one day at the Adelaide Oval. It might have been Amazing Adelaide, actually. Can't remember exactly. Let's say it was Amazing Adelaide.
Sure.
And like underneath the scoreboard there at the Adelaide Oval, and you've got all the pundits there. They're having plenty of beers. It was probably late in the day, so they've been there all afternoon. And you've got the walkway right in front of the, and so you can imagine, like, if a lady walks past, there'd be a few probably inappropriate comments. Anyway, we're in the middle of an over. The end of the over. So we're in the middle just having a chat, and Ricky goes, "Have a look what's going on over here." And there was this guy, and he had this woman on top of on his shoulders, and they've stopped right in front of the scoreboard, and the crowd obviously, get him out for the boys, all this sort of stuff, And I'm like, okay, Ricky, we've got to. And he goes, no, just watch. And sure enough, she was like playing along, and she was like threatening to pull the top up, And so the crowd's going, woo, and sure enough, she whips the top off, but she's got another top on underneath. So the crowd's like, wow, no. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's funny. Okay, let's get back. And Ricky's going, no. Just wait. So we're in the middle of the Adelaide Oval. Sure enough, she goes again. Ooh, the whole crowd, woo, hey! She's got another top on underneath, She did this 3 times. And so we're in the middle of the Oval, middle of the Adelaide Oval, mid-Ashes Test match, watching this lady play up to the crowd right in front of everyone underneath the scoreboard. And so he had a great sense of humour as well.
So he can relax. He's given a new twist on that man, famous Ashes Test from Adelaide.
It was amazing Adelaide.
It was. Huss, thanks so much for dropping by and talking about SuperCoach as well. So supercoach.com.au is where you can get involved with these cash prizes, weekly cash prizes as well, all over the BBL, all the players, ins and outs, as players coming and going. A couple of the English players are about to come over after their
Just have some fun with it. Pick the players that you like watching the most, hopefully Maxi's back from injury soon. Stoyner started pretty well the other night. I don't know, the guys that you like watching, just go for them and have some fun with it.
I haven't got the concentration span to be able to do something like this and update my team, but if I'm doing it, I'm getting Jacob Bethel in my team when he gets over here.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Like Bethel.
For sure. Huss, been unreal having you in the studio, mate.
Enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Have a great Christmas with the family. G'day to Will. Love your work, mate. Come back anytime, mate, and listen along. Join the Secret Cricket Club and ask questions to us. But really appreciate it, mate. Have a great Chrissy.
Yeah, you too. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Huss.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.